disclaimer before we start anything, guys. You are going to be blessed tonight, right? You are going to get a exclusive experience today. She knows what I'm about to say. I just got to make sure. Just let me do what I need to do for the masses, okay? I need everyone to know that you are in blessed presence today.
Oh my
Not
God.
me, not today. I mean, I'm blessed too. I'm a big deal too. Jazz is a big deal, but we're here for the bun.
Oh my God. You know what? I'm over you.
Y'all don't understand, okay? When the bun is up, the knowledge is just, it flows, honey. It just flows. So I just, listen.
You know what? We're not going to do that. Listen,
I'm
this bun has a mind of its own. I cannot make any promises, any guarantees, or nothing. The last time sis was reading, I don't know what's going to happen, but we're just going to allow things to flow because that's the state that I'm in. So,
because we doing what the bun wants today, and I'm here to flow in whatever direction the bun says we need to flow. Okay.
Me too.
Listen,
just know I don't know either. Okay.
Listen, because we get another version of Jazzy with the bun. So consider yourselves blessed in advance. I just want to throw that out there. But hey, y'all. We are here back on another episode. I don't know what number this is, but I will say this is getting a lot easier, so that's nice.
I know it is cool. I'm like, it is now. I love Elevate and Relate. I'm like, ooh,
I know.
I get so excited every single time, and I never know the time or like how long it's been. It's like I don't know. So
yeah, you just know when the day is here. But yes, it's when we get to talk to all of our internet friends when they come and visit us. And luckily today everything is working. So look at that, because usually the last couple of times we've had some catastrophes. But anyway, if this is your first time here, if you are watching a replay or whatever, welcome to our space. This is Elevate and Relate. This is a posturing for like-minded and light-minded people. My name is Nena Carr. I am a cognitive behavior coach and also a persuasive brand strategist. Basically, what I do is I help people just find their light, find their, their calling in life and be able to create a life that is designed around that calling and also to live their life unapologetically. I help you rediscover, your core values so you can realign your life to what matters to you.
Yes. Okay, then, sis. All right, take your couch. And for those who know me, or this is your first time visiting, I am Jasmine Meadows. I am a light worker, an intuitive mindset coach, and now founder of Mom Emotion Consulting. And so what I do is I read energy. So as an energy channeler, I help people to kind of uncover any blockages that they have that's preventing them from walking in their true alignment, their true calling, or really the desires of their heart, right? Oftentimes what's subtle for you is loud for me. So it helps me to do what I need to do to help you. So I'm all things love, light, and learning.
Absolutely. So yeah, and it's like I love us because we complement each other so well. She lets you dig deep. She's the person you go to if you want to just dig deep and find all the blockages that you may have, spiritually. This is the soul. As I told her, I said she gives you the armor to help you fight the battles that you may be having with yourself. And I am just the implementation person. I am the person that once you have fought those battles, how do you implement it into your life? That is my job. Well, she does that too, but I'm more of a brain-focused version. But yes, so we are the Dynamic Duo. We are here for another episode. Today, we are kind of piggybacking off the last two episodes in a way. We talked about the ground zero growth. Then we went into the surrender last time. And now we are talking about how to move once you finally do the work.
Yes.
So once that surrender is up and it's time to actually start moving like something, that's what we're talking about.
Hey, putting a move on it, okay?
Listen. But yes. Okay, let me get my notes. I
Yeah.
think.
So what we're going to talk about today really is about how you can implement everything that you know. It's putting it into practice. And a lot of the times, you know, you can say and know the things, but if you're not actively doing the things, then it ain't giving what it's supposed to get. So you want to make sure that this really is what you take from it, is that you actually have the tools that you need in order to move the way that you want to move, to have this fulfilling, amazing life, and shedding all the things that no longer work for you and operating in this new space of renewal. So that's what we're going to talk about today. That's what we're going to dive deep into.
Yes, absolutely. So we are going to get it started, and we are going to start off by talking about diversity of experiences, okay? Because that is super, super important, because if you are trying to do something new, it makes no sense at all to keep doing the same things that you are already doing.
Okay.
So yeah, just like you diversify your stock portfolio, you should also diversify your life and all of your experiences, okay? So we're going to start off with the question. Oh, before we start, also, please know that anytime you tune into an episode of Elevate and Relate, this is a collaborative conversation. That means that we are talking with you, not to you.
Amen.
So
So
please,
share. So
yes,
share.
please share, because we want to hear your, takes. You may teach us some things. We like to swap experiences. We like to have, just a genuine conversation. So if you are tuning in, say hey in the comments and let us know how we can help you today. And also let us know what you would like to contribute to the conversation. All right. So we're going to start it off with the question of, how do diverse experiences lead to self-fulfillment and growth?
Okay.
You want to go? Or you want me to go?
You can take it.
Okay.
We both gonna converse. It's
I
okay.
know. All right.
You know what we
All
have.
right.
So you know how we do.
Yeah. So I'm going to start off with my personal experience, because I am really big on this, especially now in this season in my life, because I have done a lot of, super extensive work on myself. And, I'm starting to be in the phase of my growth where I have to live all the things that I've been affirming. Right. So it's very important that I, create an environment that supports the new narratives that I'm now telling myself, and also opening myself up to different experiences. For those that do not know me from way back when, you could know me from the childhood, but if you knew me back then, you would know that Jesus, this is not this person in front of you. Listen, this is not the same person. Okay. I've worked very hard to become the person that you are looking at today. And I have done that with the help of diverse experiences, because we talked about before how once you level up to one level, you level up to another, and it's repeat, watch, rinse, repeat with this, right? So it's like every single time I have to create new diverse experiences to complement the next level that I'm trying to reach. But this particular time is extremely important, because I am going into a trade, what do we say, occupation of something that I have been afraid to do, but wanted to do secretly my whole life, right? I always knew that people were my thing, right? But I gave that thought up because I did what everyone else wanted me to do. And I did what I felt would be profitable other than what's purposeful for me, right? And so now I'm in a space where I have to really move the way I want to move. That means I need to go in rooms that I was afraid to go in before. That means I need to talk to people in a manner that I was afraid to before, because I used to be shy. Go figure, right? I used to be extremely shy. I mean, I've always been a lot, but I used to be just a lot in private. Now I'm just a lot openly, right? And so now I have to, do things like what we're doing right now, be on this camera, because Elevate and Relate, like we tell you before, it started with us just trying to conquer our fear of cameras.
Yes. Yeah. And now look.
Yes. So this is a good example of what I'm having to do. I'm having to go to events that I normally wouldn't go to. I have to be around certain people that feed the new version of me. I have to truly be very intentional in my experiences in this stage of life, because I need the confirmation that I am on the right track. I need to know that whatever the new things that I'm telling myself, they are the right things. I need to know how those things, when I experience them, are going to make me feel, because it's great to dream it, right? But you have to actually live it to know how it makes you feel, because we talked about in the last episode about trusting your body. So when you get to that point and you trust your body, you need these experiences so your body can tell you and confirm, is this right or wrong? Because when you're thinking about something and you're mental practicing it, okay, cool. But when you're in that room, when you're in front of that camera, or you're around those people in that environment, how does it make you feel? So I feel like the diverse experiences are important to that, because it's like a confirmation method. I call it like a quality control, to make sure that you are on the right path and what you want to do.
Yes, I think, and I agree with all of that. If you're not actively pursuing whoever this renewed person is, then that renewed person is not going to show up. But I feel even before then, you have to be open to want the renewal and diversification first. A lot of times we say we want these things. Oh, I want to be this. I want to be that. But your mindset is closed. Oh, I'm not going to go there. Oh, I'm not going to do that. You're never going to really diversify those experiences if your mindset is not open to it in the first place. If you're not wanting to learn something new, then subconsciously you won't. And then consciously it's never going to happen, or it's not going to happen in the timeline that you want it to happen. So ultimately, it's really about shifting that mindset first, because once you say you want something, do you truly want it? And be open to understanding, if it's something that you truly want, what does it look like? If you want it, what does it look like? Start understanding that visualization of what that looks like for you if you were going to do it. Because what ends up happening is you end up growing without knowing you're growing. You ever see, like, when kids are growing up, they don't realize that they're getting tall until you see them like years later. Oh, you got tall.
You used to seeing them every day. Yeah.
So when you're practicing these things of saying, this is what I want to do, is really actually taking those tangible steps to say, okay, let me each day do something different each day, So I think being open to that, and it's so funny that you said, who you was before is not who you are now, because I just said to somebody today, I don't remember who I was before. It's like I'm in a space now. Before, I'm like, oh, the old me would have been, I don't even know the old me, because I really embodied somebody who is somebody completely different, but it's someone who I'm supposed to be. I feel comfortable in this space. It's like, even in the uncomfortable, I feel comfortable. And so when you get to that space of renewal and saying, okay, what would this new person or this renewed person experience? What is his or her life like? What does she like to do? It's getting to know yourself on that level, but it starts with your mindset first. So
absolutely. I feel like it's so key, because it's like you said, when you have something, it's like you get used to doing the same things. And if you just go into it a new person doing the same things, what are you really experiencing? How are you growing? How are you really being open if you are just still in the same environment doing, the same things? Yeah. And you just caveat into the next point about about being open to a new way of life and perspectives. It's truly a beautiful place to be in when you are in a space like we talked about in the last episode with surrender, where it's like I'm in a space where I am cool with whatever happens, right? And you just, whatever happens, you're going to navigate it. I was telling somebody I'm swag surfing the flow right now.
Like that. For real, because you have to. It's like, I feel like when you diversifying your life portfolio is really about expansion. It's like you're expanding your experiences. You're not really gaining new ones per se, or going out to get something new. You're just expanding what you already know. And if you look at it as an expansion of something, because you don't not know those other experiences that you've had, they don't go away somewhere. You now have them in an arsenal of like, oh, do I like that? Oh, that don't resonate no more. Oh yeah, I like more of that. Actually, I like to combine some of those things. So you start to have this expansion that you can create to resonate with who you're becoming, and it becomes much more of an expansion rather than I have to shift and become somebody different or become something different.
Yeah.
No, your renewal is an integration between your old and your new to merge to become whatever this new said person thing is.
Yep.
So you have to just be open to that. And I think another thing is to be open to experiencing not just the things, but the feelings associated. And I think we forget to do that. It's like, oh, I want to do that. Why? What are you looking for in that? You
Yep.
know, because your why is so important. Because if you're looking for it to tell somebody you did it, then that's not going to give you the fulfillment that you, oh, I did this just to say you did it. But if you found some fulfillment in it and it's something that your heart was like, I want to do this, I'm open to do this, it's a lot of a different liberation of a feeling than just doing something for the sake of doing it. So looking at those feelings of what did you want to feel in this space? What feeling are you looking for? Because that's also going to garner, you know, what you do and why you're choosing to do the things and where you're going to expend your energy and where you're not going to expend your energy. Like, I don't know, you know, so look at the two.
It's funny you say that. I posted about that today. I made a post about how discipline is an emotional response in a sense, because a lot of times we just try to put the cart before the horse and we say, okay, I want to be disciplined and I'm going to tell myself to be disciplined. I'm going to force myself to be disciplined without even knowing the true reason why you want to be disciplined, right? And so one of I did 5 steps to realizing that discipline is an emotion, an emotional response. And the first thing was to connect with your why. Connect with your why on a beyond the surface level. Like she said, like just saying you want to do it for, you know, any other reason that has nothing to do with the core of you. It's not, you know, I was reading something today and it was talking about how I'm sorry, authenticity is a core need, right? We look at our basic needs and we think food, water, shelter, but authenticity honestly should be on the list. Because if you are pursuing things in a version of yourself that you are not clear about, or, you know, that you are not confident in, or you are not operating your authentic self, you could be chasing things that won't benefit truly you. Like, who are you when you are not in service to someone else? Who are you when you take away, you know, all of the things that you have learned that don't fit you? That's the person you're serving. So you have to really give more insight into, why do I want to do this? Who is asking this of me? Is this my authentic self? Is this my learned self? Who is this asking this? And you have to really connect with it on beyond, like I said, beyond the surface level, and really let it resonate why you want to do it. Imagine what the outcome looks like once you've done it. Visualize that, become that. And that's where the habits come in, is once you visualize it and you become it, then you slowly build the habits towards it. And so that's why it's important. And that's why we're starting out with this, is really just being open and being, you know, to diverse experiences, to new experiences. Don't expect to keep doing the, you know, the bigger things with small people or small environments and small mindsets. You have to open yourself up to more, to get more. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah.
Absolutely. And you have to look at it with a curiosity, not an expectation. Like, for me, I always, especially now, I'm in such a space where when things are presented to me, I have to look at it like literally it's an exploration. Like, my inner child is leading the way right now. So we are just in explore mode. So things that would aggravate me or really frustrate me, like, I'm not going to lie, I still have road rage. It's not going anywhere. But,
for me, my road rage is going. I'm like,
now mine's is, but I say what I need to say. I speak my truth in love. So it's different. But the thing is, though, you just have to approach it with a curiosity, like something that would have angered me or would have frustrated me. It's like, why am I frustrated? You know, why am I this? And having that space of like curiosity without the expectation of like, oh my God, I expected this to happen and this is why it didn't. You know, it shifts your perspective and it actually shifts your mood and your frequency too. So it allows you to actually look at things from a different angle that yields you a result that you're looking for later. And you don't even realize it in time. Like, in time you don't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just you have to have that curiosity, and you also have to practice being present, because you will get the right answers to what you're looking for when you're present. That's been a big thing for me, is learning to be present. And I'm telling you something, it's a game changer when you actually start to have it as a part of your day. Like for instance, yesterday my back started hurting and I knew where it was coming from. And I was like, oh, that's because of those emotions you suppressed the other day, because I know where this stuff starts to show up. And so now I trust the signals that my body is giving me. I trust my intuition. I'm just letting things fall where they need to go. And I'm just, like you said, exploring and just seeing what works and what doesn't work. We were talking about this right before we got on. I was like, you know what? I'm just kind of like, whatever. I'm just going to post whatever. People like it. They don't. I don't care. I'm just going to post it. Like I'm just giving I'm at the point where I'm just contributing what I'm called to do. You either like it or you don't. That's all I care about. It's whatever. And I'm open to whatever it is that comes with that. And I feel like no expectations is such a safe place to be in this space, because you cannot micromanage your growth in this space. You can't feel like you have to have control over anything, because you are, except yourself, obviously, but you are in a space where you're in like a void, in a sense. You're in unknown territory. So what it's like going into a field and getting mad because you can't find your way around. Like you're in an open field. It's a new experience, new environment, new mindset. And you have to really let that resonate and really just operate in a place of a blank slate and start from there. But yeah, and we already kind of covered about how, the diverse experiences kind of add value. If you are listening and you want to join in and tell us about any diverse experiences that you may have, had in your life recently, that may have, what does it teach you? Is it, what value did it add to your life? We would love to hear it.
Yes.
But until then, we will move on.
I wanted to add something actually too with that, no expectations, because I think if you shift gears on because it's so hard to say don't have expectations, right? Because we do. And even I catch myself, no matter how woo I am, I'm like, now listen, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then when it doesn't happen, we get in this mode. But one of the things that I have actually been actively practicing is making sure that, and I used to do it and I fell off from it, but being mindful of your intentions. If you swap out your expectation with an intention, you actually yield for the best results that are perfect for you in that moment. Because sometimes you don't know what you need in those moments of like,
I like that.
New path. I don't know what I don't know. So I think it's easier for you. And I mean, this is something that I'm practicing actually like now. And I like today I was saying Ellen, today I did this ancestral healing, this new line of work that I'm working on. And it was so hard for me not to have an expectation, because it was like in my mind, my ego mind was like, I know what I want and I know what I'm looking for. But I approached it differently, because it was like, well, I just want to set the intention, because sometimes we have to ask, what is it that I need to know that's going to better me in this moment? Because you won't know if you don't ask the right questions either. So it was really important. So, and I set this intention and it was amazing actually. But if you're rigid in your expectation, then you're going to be rigid in your experience. And so you want to be mindful of just setting an intention instead of setting an expectation. It's something that's helpful for me.
Yeah, no, I like that actually. Yeah, I agree. Because I feel like it's almost like when you have anything, when you can't just take things away. It's more helpful when you have something to replace it with. So it's like, if you're going to do something, just do this. And then it helps you move, more strategically. And then, especially in my personal experiences, moving with intention has never been my thing. Like I just kind of let life happen to me, So for me, this is like new territory where I'm like, no, this is what I'm doing. There's nothing you can tell. Like, this is new for me. So I 110% agree with the power of intentions, because listen.
Yeah. I mean, I shower with intention. That's how deep it gets. Like, we're going to be feeling great and light. And yes, we are.
I just be like,
sure.
So it depends. So we say that to say this. It depends on how your intentions are going to look, how they will look for you. But it is important to set them. But don't think that you have to do them like any one of us. Do them as you do them. No, there is no wrong answers here. So let's be clear with that, because I know sometimes when it comes to stuff like this in this space, people are like, well, I'm gonna do, and if I'm not, setting intentions in the shower, I'm not doing it right.
Well, the other
thing, she's
you try it one time. I'll tell you calm right the heck
no,
down.
I do it. I do it when I smoke.
Listen, I set intention in a minute. I was setting intention before I leave the house. I set the intention. I'm gonna have a great day and some awesome opportunities.
Yeah, I'm still learning that, child, because I just be going with the flow.
Yeah, and that's fine. Listen, that's the thing with intentions. It's a set it and forget it type of thing. So nice. But and also don't be loose with it. One thing I would say is don't set your intentions. Be like, well, if I set the intention and things don't go right, then don't be doing if, and, then, or buts. Like it don't work like that. It's it's crock pot stuff. You throw that stuff up in there and crank it on. You come home, it's cooked. Boom, we good. It's like that. Set it and forget it. And
oh my God. I'm laughing because I use crock pot analogy for like everything.
Oh my gosh. But I used to do it. Like I used to have to put that on because when I came home, like child was not about to cook and change diapers and get no, done. I felt like Superwoman. So yeah.
Oh my God.
Then get it.
I concur. Especially with the crock pot. I love me a good crock pot analogy.
Hello.
All right. So moving on to the next one. Again, if you have any experiences that you want to share, please let us know. But now we are going to talk about how you should move. It's kind of like we're going into more of a more detailed version of what we just talked about the diverse experiences and moving, understanding that you must move differently. But now we're going to talk more about of how to really do that, right? And one thing that I always harp on with anybody that's talking to me about any change they have in life or asking me about what has been helpful in my change is defining a solid starting point. Right. Just like it's important, you have your intentions. You take that same energy she just described and put it into your starting point. Really thinking about realistically where you're starting from. Now, I say this, and there's levels to me. You have to acknowledge your human experience and your spiritual experience, all the experiences when you're talking about your starting point, because all of those things are going to come into play when you are trying to recreate, your life and your day-to-day, new self. So for me, for example, I'll give a personal experience. For me, a lot of the changes that I have tried to make, I was not being fully honest with myself as far as my starting point was concerned. In the past, when I first started, this is my first time, starting over, being completely honest. And when I say honest, I don't mean lying. I mean not being aware of the additional information that is required. Right. It's not me lying to myself, say, no, you're fine, which it is a part of that too. But mainly for me, the biggest thing has been really being aware of where I am actually starting from. A good example of that is my ADHD, right? I found out I had it, I thought I had it, and then I found out I had it. I got diagnosed with it, and it was like, okay, I have it, and that's it, right? And it's something that I accepted the label of it, where I say, okay, I am someone struggling with ADHD. And, I thought that was like, okay, well, that's it. No, I didn't really take full account into a detailed account, should I say, into how that affected my life, how that affected my day-to-day, how that may affect my goals, how that may affect what consistency looks like for me, how productivity looks like for me. I just told myself I have it. That's only half the battle. Okay, you have it, but how is that going to affect you? How is that going to change you? How do your needs change? How do your desires change? How does your support change? What does your support need to look like now, right? Because we also know with ADHD, when you're in school, you get this IEP, you get all these different things. And then it's like when you're an adult, it's like, go figure it out, right?
Yeah. I don't get no help. Hello.
Yeah, no accommodation, and so you have to kind of be your own advocate. And this is just one example. With what I had to do, I had to learn to be my own advocate and actually take the time to be aware of what I needed support with, right? Because I realized that you're trying to do these things and you're not doing the things, and you're thinking it's because you're a failure. You're thinking it's because you're dumb. And then it's like, oh, I have ADHD. Okay, I have ADHD. Okay, but what does that mean? But then when I broke it down some more and I did the research into ADHD, it's like, okay, but you have executive dysfunction. That's a whole new thing. So all of those things were before I was just saying I don't do well with admin stuff, right? Now it's you don't do well with organization. You don't do well with this. And it's not saying that I can't improve, but it is not me being negative and saying you can't do this. This is saying that this is going to be a potential obstacle in the way as you move forward. Not saying you can't do it, but saying that this is something you need to have in your mind so you can prepare in advance, right? And you can adjust your expectations or whatever you want to call it. You can adjust your visualization of the outcome of what you do on your daily based on the starting point that you give for yourself. So for me, because I understand now that I have executive dysfunction, I can pinpoint exactly where that executive dysfunction lies. I can, one, give myself grace, right? So if I had to redefine what consistency looked like, and it took a long time to do that because I kept trying to do things their way and the things that the internet said to do and things like that. And I'm like, why can't I do it? And then it's like, those rules are not made for you. You need to create your own rules, right? And so consistency switched for me where it was like, okay, well, I have to do this every day because that's what the internet is saying to no, I am someone that has to navigate ADHD. So I have to shift that. So for me, consistency is whenever you are in hyper focus mode, do the work and do it well and do as much as you can. But when your brain says rest, rest. Because I had to figure out that me trying to push myself did not help the person I was trying to become because now I'm putting doubt in my flow, right? And remember, we swag surfing the flow, and I can't swag surf the flow when I'm sitting here putting doubt in my flow. I cannot do that, right? So
not gonna work.
So it's like setting yourself up for success. Just understanding where you're at, understanding like for me, I'm a mother. That's one layer. I'm a single mother. That's another layer. I am a single mother who does not have any support from the father at all. That's another layer, right? I also don't have, a lot of family, financial support or whatever. I have, I'm a business owner. My money is up and down. So when I define that starting point of all of these things that come into play, that is going to drastically change my financial goals. That's going to drastically change the expectations that I put on my worldly goals of, okay, I need to get this by this date or whatever the situation may be, whatever you want to create for yourself. You have to consider those things when you are doing it.
Yes, I 100,000% agree because it's so important to know your starting point and know where you are and to be honest with yourself. Like you said, to be very honest, I think one of the things I notice is that we often compare our garden to other people's in this space of honesty, which makes it very difficult to be honest. So you ultimately end up creating a superficial you that you believe is now the renewed you because it's based on somebody else's blueprint for their garden. Okay. So you have to be honest and be in that space of understanding, okay, yeah, that person may have some beautiful begonias, wonderful, but maybe you wanted them shits to be low maintenance, okay, and maybe those a little bit high maintenance, and now you done planted some too, and now you realizing they're not like the tulips, so now you got to figure it all out, and it's like that wasn't what you wanted. So you have to be mindful about your honesty with yourself about what your renewed space, what that renewed you looks like, what does he or she feel like, and then start implementing steps to get there. I think when you start to understand what that person looks like, you start to then culminate experiences that align with that. And so my personal experience, there's so many, but right now the space I'm in is I'm navigating my challenge with social media. I have always been a social media person. In the past, I have used it to cope when I was going through things. I felt like the world was my people because I felt more alone in the house than I did, so I had all these different coping mechanisms that I had put into play. But I find the more that I evolve in learning and loving this renewed space, I don't value that like I did. And there's all this talk of, if you want to be a business owner, if you want to get organic people, and it's like, but my people are like me, they probably hidden in plain sight.
Exactly.
So it's hard. And so for me, what I have been really working on is by balance. And I have found that I am in such a feminine energy, but I have learned to embody masculinity within my femininity, because that allows me to do both. So I can schedule when I'm actually on there, and I limit, because I found that I'm more fulfilled when I'm not on social media. And it's a new space that I'm in, and I'm like, well, wow, what does this feel like? Because I'm embodying this new person. So I have to be real about what I'm feeling, because everything is not for everyone. And it doesn't mean that it's for the long haul. It just means in this space. So sometimes you got to try something new for a different point of view coming through. So here we go. Here we go. Because if you don't step out of your if you don't step out of your comfort zone, you're not going to know who this renewed person is. You have to get to know this new person. You have to get to understand and know what that person needs, what they look for, what their flair is, what resonates with you. So for me, it's been like really aligning my frequency to match who I'm becoming. And I look at everything in energetic frequencies all the time. So for me, it's like, okay, in this renewed space, what frequency do I need to vibe at? And the frequency that I'm vibing at is really not the social media vibe right now. It's really very different. So I'm just like, okay, now I'm in this space. I've found that I'm also cultivating new relationships, and now new opportunities are coming in, and they're more in alignment with what my heart wants. So it's like, okay, maybe I don't have to do it this way. Maybe I don't. And again, this is where that curiosity comes in, where you look at something from a completely different perspective and a completely different, not an expectation, but more like, okay, what does he or she want to feel in this space? So for me, it's been social media amongst one of the things. But it's also just been how I work, how I show up, like making sure that I'm showing up present and here and in this moment, because your power is in the now. So that's also super important. I can't worry about what's happening tomorrow. I can't worry about what's coming. All I know is, am I honoring what I want to do, what I love to do? So Nana had asked me earlier, she's like, I need some reckless advice from you. Because she knows I live my life. And I live my life, and I say I live my life recklessly because I live by what my heart wants. Yeah. And that is the most reckless, non-logical, non-societal way of thinking, because they're like, well, if you don't know how you're going to get there, you didn't have a plan. Yeah. And I'm like, screw the plan. The plan is my heart's happy. And we're cool.
That's all that matters.
So I was like, I don't know if you want this advice, sis, because you already know.
No, I do. I wanted confirmation.
So I don't know. Like I told her, I took this sporadic trip to Arizona. I was like, I don't know. But then I went and I had a great time. It's amazing. So it's like, I live very on the seat of your pants, because that's what my heart is like. Sis, that's where we're at today. So that's what it is. And I think just being mindful of those things, of like your frequency, where you vibe, and all those, they matter. So yes, be open to new.
Yes, and that also goes back to what we were talking about with finding your authentic self and discovering that person, because once you discover or start to discover that person, that version of you will speak to you. Through your experiences. It'll speak to you, through your body, through your reactions, through the way it makes you feel. You'll start to feel things that you never felt before. Like, excitement hits different. Happiness hits different. Like, it's like, I look at stuff now and it's like, oh my God, has this always been so crazy? And it's like, it's a totally different experience. So you have to really just, like she said, embody yourself in that and be okay and ride the wave. Like, for instance, for her, she's like, okay, with social media, I'm like in the beginning stages of that, where I'm like, this is starting not to feel right. So I'm trying to figure out, like she said, like, tending to your own garden. And I'm like, well, can easily say, well, this is what she's doing, so I'm just do what she's doing. But I'm like, okay, no, because one thing Jazzy will always tell me, no, do your own thing.
You gotta be, listen, your authenticity is your power. And let me tell you,
Absolutely.
it is so. I just did a video on this the other day, and I was like, I had to, girl, it was 9 minutes. It was a 9-minute rant, but I actually cut it down to like 5, and I'm so proud of myself because
I'm proud of you too.
Whew, so, and because no, but really your authenticity is so, it's
important.
It's your gift to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are unwrapping somebody else's, you don't even know how to work that gift. You know what I mean? So like, girl, like I need your
backwards.
Like it's not right. And like
it's true.
It's crazy. Like Nana knows I had like some health. I'm turning into an alien, as I say. And I had to do these iron infusions for the first time. And I went in there and I was like, people who do know me know that in my past life, what I do remember is that I'm a serious hypochondriac. Okay. If I see one thing, I'm like, oh no, a full workup, please. So this now they're like, you're severely anemic and you need iron, you need all these things. And I'm like, okay. And so I went in for these infusions, and I went in instead of having this, woe is me, oh my gosh. It was really like, I ended up actually like mentoring some of the nurses there. They were like, are you coming back next week? It was so crazy. I was like, what is happening? But it was such a good feeling. And it was just what my heart felt called. Like, I just was like, I'm here. This is the moment I'm in. This is how I'm moving. Something that would have really frustrated me or made me feel like this is taking time away from what I'm supposed to do or how I'm supposed to move. It's just like, well, in this moment, how can I be of service? And I think that is just, it's an amazing feeling when you can shift to that. So, yeah.
And I want to double down on what she just said, that in this moment, like say that as many times as you need to throughout the day. In this moment, how can I serve myself? In this moment, how can I serve the world? In this moment, how can I, exist in a state of love? In this moment, how can I, take care of myself? Whatever, fill in blank, whatever. That's the phrase that pays, okay? It helps you really it teaches you to be present. It teaches you to really learn to scan your environment and scan your mind and scan everything, all the things. And it's like you're calling on yourself and asking, okay, in this moment, what can I do? And it's like you can, and lo and behold, every single time it floats this way to you. Every single time. And then also, when you're also doing those diverse experiences, people are going to start looking different. People are going to start acting different. People are going to approach you. Like she said, she went to the doctor and the nurses are, trying to get mentored at the doctor. And it's like, bro, I'm here, But when you have to keep in mind that when you start to elevate to that space, people feel it. We are all connected, okay? People feel, whatever aura that you're given, whatever you're given, other people can feel that energy shift. So be prepared for that too. So you also have to be mindful of what's going to come to you, and also how to handle it and be able to differentiate them. Because again, like we're talking about, we're in the beginning stages of this. You have to be able to differentiate what is you moving as your true self or what's a trauma response from your old self. Like there's thought process that have to go. So make sure that people are going to come, they're going to test you. It's going to be different things, like, because the way humans are set up is that when people look at you, the first thing, and it's not even a malicious thing, as humans, we are wired to look at things and see, what can I get from that thing, right? If you look at a refrigerator, you're going to see, what can I eat from the refrigerator? You have no malicious intent. You have a need, right? And you're looking for something to fill that need. So when you are operating in a different space, and let's use Jasmine for an example. She is now, becoming the cyborg extraordinaire, all things love, light, and energy. She's about to be able to give the master class on all things transformation. Okay, she is the go-to person. So that means that a lot of people are going to gravitate towards her. A lot of people in this new space that she's in are going to dump on her more than usual because now her gift is stronger, right? So now you have to also be open to new discernment and being able to kind of revise those steps too, and understand, like, okay, they are coming to me with this need. Always serve self. Do I have it in me to serve that person? Do I have it in me at this time? Go back to the in this moment. In this moment, do I have the bandwidth to serve this? Do I have the capacity to give this? Do I have, because one thing that you have to make extremely common in this experience is making it a normal thing to serve yourself and pour into yourself, because that is one thing that this culture of a country will suck from you, right?
If
So you
you
have
allow.
to make sure you stay true to that. And again, like she was saying too, with the people, like especially with entrepreneurship, and you hear all these mixed messages of you got to do this, if you're not doing this, you're failing, and blah, blah, blah. Wake up and get this millionaire routine and blah, 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 right? So you have to be so careful and how you discern the world around you, because those messages, those people, they're going to come, and they are coming with maybe not malicious intent, but they are still going to come. So you have to be strong in your stance. Like for me, I had to tell myself, I said, Nana, today you need to really let it resonate and don't play with it. You are an unambitious entrepreneur. And that's okay, right?
Okay.
Because I used to waver, and that's where I used to I used to be one side. I'm like, no, I'm right in the middle, and I'm cool being in the middle. And I used to be like, oh, maybe I need to go this way, maybe I need to go that way, because some days I can go live on an abandoned island, other days I can go hard. Like, be cool with you being in the middle, but just craft whatever that looks like for you and stand on it, because
that's where your authenticity lies too. That's where that's your authentic self. Yep. Your authentic self is not doing what everybody's doing. Your authentic self is not moving. So if one day you want rest, and y'all know I love my naps, so I'm napping. Okay, like you think like I'm not gonna not be in my purpose because I took a nap, or because I didn't put together this thing. Now it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta go now. And that's the problem. We put this urgency on everything, and then we think that if we just say it the loudest and we're the first, that now it's the most impactful. And it's like, no, it's just the loudest. That's all. If it wasn't ready to be shown, if it wasn't ready to be there because you need to cultivate it more. This is yours. It's your birth. So of whatever it is that you're doing. So just be mindful of that. Like move how you feel called to move, because the most radical way to move that doesn't make sense to no one is actually going to be the one that's the best thing going for you, honestly, because you have the blueprint for you. Nobody has that but you. So move according to what you feel. Right.
And one thing I want to add real quick too is I'm only saying this wasn't in the plan. It's something I just been thinking about heavy today that it's on my heart to say. Understand the culture that we live in, right? I really want to, especially American culture, the way that things are, understand that those things are not as mandatory as the world may make it seem. This urgency culture that we have, this achievement culture that we have, that if you're not getting recognized, if you're not getting accolades, if you're not getting, follows, likes, all the time, that you're just on the wrong path. No, we live in a culture that rewards narcissism. Okay. We live in a culture that rewards exploitation of yourself for a cause that has nothing to do with you. And this is not me in my conspiracy theorist bag. This is actual facts in the way that the culture is set up. Okay. So please understand, when we're talking about the starting point, please understand the culture that you live in and be able to be strong in what you want, and understand that that's always going to be that. And that ain't got nothing to do with you unless you make it about you. Okay. Because you will get so many mixed messages and it gets mad confusing. I'm telling you, this is somebody who went through it, right? I'm finally at the light at the end of the tunnel with this, but I went through a whole lot of hell because, as you all know, if you don't know, you're about to know, I'm a full-time entrepreneur, right? Meaning that if I don't work, I don't eat. Meaning that if I don't hustle from, sun up to sundown, I'm going to lose money. I may not be able to buy things. So I had to make a decision on what was the most important. Nana, do you want money or do you want freedom? Do you want money or do you want your time? Do you want money or do you want to actually be there for your daughter? And now I can stand 10 toes down on money will do what it does. I need to be there for my daughter. I want time. I want to lean into my humanity. And that's okay. You could be somebody that's like, hey, I want the money. That's okay. But just understand that if the money is what you want, make sure it's coming from a healthy place and coming from an authentic place. But whatever it is, be firm and flexible. Be firm in who you are and what you stand on, but be flexible to how it comes to you. But I wanted to bring up Mika's point. She made a comment and she said, this is very helpful. My starting point is accepting that I am diabetic and not allow that to stress me. But living with a progressing illness is very depressing and hard to cope with, the silent killer. And I'm always living in fear because of that. You have any advice on that one, Jazzy, if I say anything?
Yes, I do actually. I think you kind of have to shed your fear and have trust a little bit more, right? Mm-hmm. Because your mind is very powerful. That's the first thing. And a lot of people don't understand how powerful their mind is, because we actually are magnets to, some of these things that happen, so if you think something negative, sometimes you can catastrophize and then you forget to live because you're paralyzed by the fear, right? So I struggle with high blood pressure, which is also one of those things where they're like, you got to be careful, you gotta and I go in for my readers, they're like, wow, is it always the
same? Yes.
I'm like, oh, that's low. That's good.
Yes.
I was looking at him like, this girl's crazy. You have to have, and it's easier said than done, and it takes a lot of practice. Yeah. But you have to tell yourself, and you have to affirm that you're healthy, even if you don't see it. A lot of times you have to have this belief and this mind, this mental strength where you're like, I know I'm going to be okay, and believe that. Because you will be okay. You know what I mean? It's like you have that power and everyone's going to tell you everything. Right now, I have a whole medical team for the whole state of Massachusetts right now, trying to figure out what's wrong. They're like, I've never seen this before. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? What am I doing? And like I said, I used to be a hypochondriac. Something like this would freak, like I would have spiraled by now. And I know that my mind is powerful. I know that I'm going to be okay. And I have to believe that, because the minute that I waver in that, the minute I say, well, these doctors are right because they went to school. Yeah, they went to school, but they didn't go to school for you. They didn't go to school for you. We're different. We have a different blueprint, and we're evolving. What they studied in them textbooks in 1996, because they got all their accreditations, guess what? We done evolved. Even viruses evolve. So you have to have power in your mind to know that I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. And what tangible steps can I take? Yes, I have depression. I had depression. I had a lot of things that PTSD. I had, listen, if it's out there, I had it. So, and everyone be like, why are you so happy? I don't know. So you just, like, whole homeless, everything like, oh, well, they took us there, just, you have to just look at your mental space and practice those things. And in those moments, tell yourself that you're going to be okay. Get healthy. In this moment, you're good. In this moment, you feel good. And do it moment by moment. Don't get lost in the future because it's not here yet. And don't stay in the past because it's gone. So you need to be here because your power is here. And this is where you're actually going to make the most strides, because there's potency. And if you dilute it worrying about a time that hasn't even come yet, you're always going to live in this cycle of fear. What if? And I was the what if queen. So I know, be in the now, because your power is in the now. If you feel good now, then you are good now. If you feel healthy right in this moment, then you are healthy in this moment. And in these moments, that's what you do, one by one by one. You don't need to worry about tomorrow. It ain't even here yet. 5 minutes from now, we ain't even here yet. So that's my advice to you, is just to really, really focus on your present moment and affirming and believing that you're going to be okay, because you will. And don't just say like, oh, okay, kind of believe. I hope. Don't hope. No.
Stay with your chest.
Yeah, I set the intention I'm going to be okay. I set the intention that after this conversation, I'm going to be all right. And it, so, and that's it. I got to say.
And that's why I wanted you to go first. That's why I wanted you to go first, because I knew it was gonna be the perfect caveat. Everything said she just said. Now I'm about to double down on it with the science. Okay, so when it comes to everything that she just said is absolutely correct, and I 110% stand on everything that she said because it is true. All right. So one thing that you have to realize is that you are very powerful, and I don't just say that on some positivity kumbaya shit. No, seriously, your body is actually powerful. Your body is constantly working in for your good at all times, but it still needs your help. The way that you can help it is by doing what Jazzy said and telling yourself and setting the intention, because the brain has extreme power to make things happen for you, right? And your body, and not only just extreme power in the spiritual realm or anything, like also in addition to that power, it also has the power because you got to remember your brain is literally the control center for your entire body, right? Keep that in mind and understand, one, that's the control center, and then two, the things, science has not even fully grasped the capabilities of the brain. Why? Because we can only do science up to the level of our actual understanding, and we just aren't there yet. We only use 3% of our brain power every single day. So this, because you understand that we only use 3%, that doesn't mean that the other 97% isn't still working in your body 10 times, 24 hours a day. Okay. Your brain power is always there. You manifest that brain power by doing what she said and actually putting in intentions and putting that subconsciously in your mind that you're going to be okay. Because whatever you tell your mind subconsciously is going to play out in your body. And and then scientifically speaking, also, when you say and you put those negative experiences, you cause stress in your body. Right. And when you cause that stress in your body, the signal part of the brain is basically sending negative signals to your body. So you're literally making yourself sicker by telling yourself that you're sick. And it's okay to acknowledge that you're sick, but also put in the intention that in this moment, like she said, I feel good. When you put that in your subconscious and you tell yourself that over and over again, guess what happens? Your subconscious brain starts to believe that. It starts to accept that as truth. Because all of the negative things, I always ask people, how is it that you feel like you can accept and learn the comfortable lie of all the negative things, but you can't learn the truth of what's actually going to happen? You have full control, you have full power, you have a freaking database, you have a freaking just a whole control center that is powerful beyond our understanding in you right now. We all do, right? So you have to trust that. You have to trust that and know that your brain is more powerful than anything that the doctors can tell you, anything that the doctors can do. How many times have you heard stories about people going into the doctor about ailments that they've had? You just heard one from Jazzy. They can't figure out what's wrong with her. What does that tell you? That tells you that there are things that go on in our mind every single day that are beyond the comprehension of the world that we live in, right? And you have to understand that and understand the power that you have. And the moment that you understand your power, your body's going to answer to whatever name that you call it. If you call your body sick, it's going to say, oh, hey, I'm sick. If you call your body powerful, it's going to say, hey, I'm powerful. And guess what it's going to do? The brain is going to send those signals from your brain to your body and say, shut this down. We are good. And then what you're going to do is you're not only going to take that, you are going to give yourself more ammunition by eating healthy, by doing the other things that complement the narratives that you want to say. Because like we were talking about before, you have to confirm those narratives with diverse experiences. So cool. You got to give your body something to fight with. Eating good, moving, happy, anything that makes you happy, connected with that. And all those powers combined, it's going to be some Captain Planet shit.
Hey.
Nutrition.
What the?
Fun. Go. You are going to defy the odds. I'm not saying that you might defy the odds. I'm not saying that you could defy the odds. We are saying that with these powers combined, you will. Because in this moment, you are powerful. In this moment, you are healed. In this moment, you are healthy. In this moment, you have full control. And in this moment, in every moment, we're going to step off our soapbox. You know how we do.
Yes. Your body, real quick though, because your body's also a natural healing agent.
Yes.
It forms a scab. You don't need a Band-Aid technically because your body going to create one for you. So you have to be mindful of that too. So speaking over yourself is super important. Don't tell yourself you're sick. I used to have depression. I don't have it no more. I don't care if you just popped a pill for it. You used to have it and you don't have it no more. That's that's it. Like, that's it. And affirm it and command it, and it is done.
Absolutely. And I also want to add another little let's talk about cell regeneration for 2 seconds. 2 seconds. It's gonna take me 2 seconds. Every 17 months, you have cell regeneration, meaning that you literally become a new person every 17 months. Only reason why we stay the same people is because our mind keeps us there, right? But if you actually couple the mind, what she said, with the nutrition and the movement and the happiness, you will regenerate. Your cells will regenerate and you will become a new person. So when she says the healing, that's how that happens. Okay? So,
change your DNA. And another thing, no, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking. Let's get firm and flexible.
I know. Shit.
Because we real flexible. Let's get firm. Okay.
Let's not even talk about how they do Black women. I'm just throwing that
out there. It's a whole
do what you will with that information. But we're gonna move on.
Yes.
Right. So yeah. Okay, I forgot what we were talking about.
So next we're gonna move into being firm and flexible, right? So this is about firm values and flexible in your process. And I'm gonna say, in all of my woo-woo glory, I don't know. I used to be very firm, like, I'm valuable. Y'all better see my value. Now I'm like, match my vibe. So my frequency is really what I look at everything in frequencies, as I mentioned so many times, because I find that it's more work to proclaim your value. It's almost like that external. It's like a hidden external validation when you have to proclaim how valuable you are. But if you take the power and onus on yourself to say, you know what? My frequency needs to align with this because my renewed self needs to be on a yacht. So guess what? My frequency needs to be raised to some level of some sort where I attract that in this frequency. Because then when I start emitting that and I start showing up in that wave and in that vibration, guess what? It comes to me effortlessly. It comes to me easy. It's not, I have to fight for it. And now I've signaled just how valuable I am because of what I'm experiencing. So now y'all see my value. I already know it. And I think that has been such a game changer for me and my experiences, because this is why I live so recklessly, because I'm like, oh, I just got to change my frequency. So I was just telling them today, I'm like, I just got to change my frequency like it's a radio station. Like, it's just, and I'm actually getting really good at it. It's kind of fun, actually. Like, naturally, it's kind of nice. But it does take the pressure off trying to proclaim and prove your value, especially because you have to make sure subconsciously that you agree with it. Because you could say out loud all day long, I'm valuable. You better, I want to do this. I want that. I deserve this. But if you have this shadow self trait subconsciously telling you, but you're not really worth it, because remember that time and remember that time. And then, so that's the soundtrack that you're listening to, and that's you're playing over. So your mouth is saying something, but your subconscious saying a whole nother tune. And so because your subconscious is emitting that vibration, guess what? That's what you get more of. Those non-valuable things, or the things that you're trying to get out of, and it's more of a struggle, and it's more hard work. So you really have to work to change your frequency. And to do that, you actually have to acknowledge those root causes of whatever it is that's being told to you, so I think it's easier to kind of alter the frequency to mirror or align what it is that you want in life. I want to be this, so what kind of spaces do I show up in? What kind of things do I need to do? Nana, you mentioned you want to do a conference or go to some event. Go to it if that's what's aligned with what you want to do, because that's the elevated frequency that you're going to need to be in order to walk into that renewed space. So for me, it's changed how I look at things. It's changed my connections with people, my networks with people, my opportunities that show up. So instead of focusing on your value, you focus on your habits. And then it becomes easier to focus on your habits, because then the opportunities show up, and then you're tapping into those opportunities. They're just showing up for you. It becomes such an effortless way of moving that honestly, I'm like, Y'all can think what y'all want about my value. I know what I'm doing, you know, I know where I'm going. I see, you know, so it shifts things so much. And then people who are supposed to be with you or align with you, they're aligned. People who aren't, they fall off organically. It's like you don't, it just happens organically. And it's such an amazing thing when you're able to tap into it and be able to practice it, because it takes the pressure off of you trying to prove it. You're living it, so you don't have to prove it.
Absolutely. And I agree with all of that. And it all, like you said, it all starts with you knowing you and you trusting and, you know, and I know from personal experience for me, in my military experience, self-abandonment was a real thing for me. I self-abandoned completely, right? Because I totally let go of my authentic self because everything about me did not align with what the military wanted. And again, we're starting from that starting point. I had to realize, you self-abandoned. Like, you got to start from scratch. Like, and so it's like now, you know, I'm in a space where I'm just letting things flow as they need to. But I also am being very, very mindful of when I have to switch things up, when I have to make changes, when I have to, when something is not feeling good and not working, just having that courage to shift the mode, right? Which brings us to our next point, and embracing the changes that happen with this, because this is great. I know she laughed because she knows I'm about to say, this is great, but it also sucks, right? It sucks sometimes. It's not always easy. You know, it's sometimes you feel like you want to give up. Sometimes you feel like this is a waste of time, or you, like she said, you have those parts of you, the shadow self coming to you and saying, you can't do this, da, da, da. You have to fight that heifer all the time until you guys learn to work together and hold hands. There's a fight. It's just like when you have those people in school that are best friends, they fought first. That's exactly what that is.
Gotta get out of the way.
I had to beat your ass, but we cool now. That's basically how that goes.
Understanding.
So you cool? Before I open this door, you cool? All right, let's hold hands and be good forever, right? So that is what we're going to talk about now. So things are going to suck, but you have to embrace the suck and really just lean into the experience. And like she said, learn, you know, when to switch the frequencies and when to change. For me, I'm going to speak on mainly changing your habits and what's working. And also too, with being realistic with your habits, you may have to experience a lot of changes in the way that you do it. Because again, when we're talking about that starting point and we're feeling like, oh, we always want to go all in, you have to start with those small habits. But even with those small habits, the reason why you have to do small habits is because it gives you the space to observe what you're doing. It gives you the space to actually say, okay, this is working for me. This is what this feels like. This is how I reacted to that. You also can get in a space where you can really understand and feel when you are accomplishing things. Because when you're doing 20 different things, you're not feeling it, you know, as much. But there are some seasons where you will have to do 20 different things.
Yeah.
But when you have the space and you can focus on one habit and build on that one habit, because even when I'm doing 20 different things, I try to have that one habit that I build on, like that I focus really hard on, that I know is going to yield me the biggest results. So for me, that habit right now is my diet, right? I got a lot of shit going on. I got a lot of projects launching, a lot of things I'm trying to do, conferences, blah, 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 blah. But I need to eat right to do any of those things because my body is my vessel. And if I am not respecting my vessel and I'm not giving my vessel the things that it needs to do all the amazing things I want to do, it's all for naught, right? So my habit transformation is starting with my diet. And I have to understand where I'm at and say, okay, I have to change a lot. I used to love a good steak. But as I connected with my authentic self was like, hey ho, we don't like steak.
We don't do that.
Like red meat. And my body responded accordingly. I started getting hives when eating my favorite things. Like, what is happening? Like, where are hives coming from? My body was like, I told you, oh, we're if this is the way we on, boo, let's go all the way. And it was even to the point where I would just like, oh, I don't want one. It's like, no, my body's literally rejecting it at this point. Right?
Yeah.
And that's a hard reality, something that you've loved your whole life.
Tell
Listen,
me
Texas
about
Roadhouse is my favorite place, and I get I've been getting the same thing for years. But as I have evolved to my authentic self was like, "Boo, we don't like red meat, and let me show you why." Bloop, hive, bloop, indigestion, bloop. Like, and I wasn't listening at first, and that's another thing. When you are not listening to your authentic self, she's going to get louder. She's going to keep talking louder and louder. And I was not listening, so it translated from a whisper to, okay, I'm just going to give you hives because you're not listening. And so you have to be ready for that, and you have to be ready to change and also release. You're going to have to release things. You're going to have to change the way you do things, and you're going to have to look at things from a different perspective, because old me would not be thinking about what I'm putting in my body to do things. I would be like, you're my body, do the things. Now it's like,
exactly.
and I had to accept again the starting point. I'm about to be 40 years old. I can't keep playing like this. And I'm trying to do all the things, all these amazing things I'm doing. It's going to require brain power. How do I get more brain power? Girl, eat, drink some water. Like things that I was not doing before, I have to do now. So before I fought it, right? And then when I fought it, my authentic self fought back and she won. Okay. So now I just released. And all of a sudden, when I did that, everything just got easier, right? When I started making better eating decisions, everything got easier. And which is proof that all you have to do is just listen to yourself. Listen to what your authentic self is telling you. And that your authentic self will tell you exactly what you need to hear at the right times. And that's what goes back to the in this moment is so important, because that is you basically calling to your authentic self, to your authentic experience, to your humanity, saying that in this moment, I am present, I am here, I am making an effort to get closer to you, authentic self. Tell me what I need to do. And I promise authentic self will answer every time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think change is always hard in the process, but it's only hard when there's resistance.
Yeah.
When there is not resistance, it is like, okay, this is what we're doing. Because I too am struggling. I just told somebody today about my diet because, I'm a mystery right now to the whole state of where I'm at. And I also don't like eating certain things either. So it's just like, I just don't have a taste for it. Like everything in my fridge that I liked 2 weeks ago, I don't like now. So
I swear to God.
this is on a diet.
I'm 2 seconds from being vegan at this point.
I don't even, and it's crazy because I don't even like certain water. I'm picky.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, that's so it's hard. It's a thing, But I think once you shift your mindset, you're able to look at change as a beautiful thing, right? If you look at a rose, for example, the petals fall. When the petals are falling off a rose, it's dying, right? Mm-hmm. Does that make it an ugly thing? It's still a beautiful process, even though it's not. It's a change. And it's so funny because I'm going to tell y'all, speaking of food, last night my daughter made me watch Kung Fu Panda, okay? The fourth one. Just so you know, fourth, not the fourth.
I ain't rewatching. She got mad at me when I was like, I'm watching the new one. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because first of all, she was like, who watches Kung Fu Panda? And I'm like, oh, man. So my daughter is she's a young intuitive. So I have to gauge whenever she asks me to watch a movie because it's not often that we have to watch these long. It's just, I humor my daughter and do what she asks sometimes, most times, all the time. So we watched Kung Fu Panda, and of course, it's all about change, right? So here's my and I was like, oh, there's a message for me, so I gotta watch it. So now there's a message for y'all because I'm about to tell y'all. So the message that came from Kung Fu Panda, can't take credit, but they were talking about change, and what they said was, let me get it right, because they mine, so it ain't divine, but here we go. It said, and they were talking, and they were like, well, if things always stayed the same, it would lose its flavor. And it was talking about in relation to a menu and food and all the things. And I thought about it like, oh yeah, because it would be stale. And I'm a foodie and I like food. As you know, I just can't eat all the things because my taste buds is not cooperating. But it made sense. And it was like, yeah, because don't nobody want the same thing all the time. And so it just made me think like, yeah, you do have to switch things up and you do have to do certain things and you do have to bring the spark back. This is why we have these cycles, right? Mm-hmm. Because if you look at things in a cycle and if you look at things in a cyclical type of manner, what happens is you'll start to yield more acceptance and resistance to it. right? So when you do have food during the winter season and the spring season and this season or whatever, if you look at it that way, it's easier to accept those changes rather than resist them, because you know it's a cycle of what needs to happen. So it made sense. And then also be mindful that sometimes when the walls are there, like, you know, sometimes you'll be doing stuff and you'll be like, I got writer's block, or I can't think, or I can't do this. And we get frustrated with the wall. Like, sometimes the wall is not to block you. And a lot of times we think it's to block us. Sometimes that's to help us rest. That's giving us respite so that we can reassess in that moment of the change. Because if you're moving too quickly, you're not processing what's happening in that space. So you need to have respite. And sometimes you need divinely guided respite, because you won't rest if you don't. You'll be at a writer's block of some sort, and then you're still trying to push through. So sometimes changing your mindset is always going to be like that first step of understanding, like, okay, how can I look at this different that's going to impact me, that's not going to stress me out? Why is this happening? Get curious and get investigative about those changes, and then surrender to that, right? Literally say, okay, this is where we're at. I can't do this. So what can I do now? Me, it's always take a nap. I will take a nap in a minute. I feel so rejuvenated after that. I'll be like, ooh, this is not working. And I go and I feel this recharge that I have, because I know that wall was put there so that I can have the respite I need so that I can move forward. So I think just taking time to look at how you can shift those things, and then spend time with yourself. Your frequencies is really going to be the truth about what you want and what you attract and how you get there. And a lot of times we base things off of our ego. And when I say ego, I say it a lot, but I don't mean like, I think I'm great. Not
People
that ego.
always think it's that, and it's
Not
not
that.
Yeah.
Ego is like your logical mind of like how it works. Like, the seeing is believing. That's the ego. I was listening to a talk the other day, and they said ego is like edging God out. So if you think about it in that way, your ego is you edging God out, right? So when you tap out of that space and you really start to focus on like the surrender space and what you want to feel, right? And how you can get there. Listen to that voice, listen to your inner self. Your body's going to let you know. But it takes time, and you have to sit with yourself. Like, the simplest of things actually can yield you the most clarity and profound. And it's like, you don't have to do all the things. You don't have to go out and run 18,000 miles and count all these goddamn steps. I mean, do it if that's what you're called to do. Don't let it stop you. But make sure it's authentic to what you feel, and it's not doing something based on like what someone's saying you should do in order to get here or to get there. Embrace your change, embrace the process, because your process to change is going to look different than mine in different dimensions. It's going to look different for you, and it's also going to yield you the results that are pertinent for you in that space and in that moment. So I always say that you look at your change in a cycle. And if you look at it that way, you're more willing to accept it than you are to resist it. And you figure out what cycle you're in. You know, you can't harvest all time. You know, there's a blossom, there's a bloom season, there's different seasons for different things. Figure out where you're at in that. And then you're able to work with your body. You're working cohesively, mind, body, soul, spirit, and on an energetic level, and then it helps you facilitate, because everything happens on an energetic level first, and then your body's the last to catch up. So that's why I always say I'm a little Jedi, because my body's catching up later. But that's just what it is. So for me, it's just really looking at it differently, and then being more accepting of what cycle I'm in that space.
Yes, and I agree wholeheartedly with that, because one thing I always tell myself, Nana, lean into your humanity. Lean into your humanity. You are a human. You are not meant to do things, you're not meant to do things the way that they tell you to do things. They tell you those things because it's coming from a different culture. It goes back to being firm but flexible, and understanding that the messages are going to be coming at you, that you've heard them. You're one decision away from changing your life. Click here. Like, no, that's not how we work, right? We are humans, right? Humans are a part of the earth. We are connected to all things. How is it that everything in the world flows and has seasons and this, that, and we're supposed to be the same way every single day. That
No.
makes logically no sense at
No.
all. We flow just like everything else. It's raining here. I'm pretty sure the weather could be different where she's at. It's probably different over in Baltimore because everything has its place, everything has its season, everything has its shift where it needs to be. And then if you firmly believe that all things are happening as they should, why would you go against the seasons? Why would you go against the cycles that she talked about? Because things are flowing as they should, meaning that I'm experiencing this for a reason. So instead of focusing on why me, start looking around and what is here for me in this moment. Show me what's here for me, why I'm here, right? And that stuff will come to you, and trusting yourself. And again, from me, brain nerd, subconsciously, if you go to sleep, because what she's saying is 100% correct. If you take a nap, rest, whatever, and you go to sleep, if you go to sleep, and this is something I've started doing, and she is absolutely correct. When you lay down and you set the intention and you tell yourself, like, I couldn't find my keys the other day, right? And we all know. And what do people tell you every single time you can't find something? When you calm down, you'll find it. And what happens? You always freaking find it. When you calm down, you rarely find stuff when you're frantic. And we live in a culture where you're supposed to go around the world frantic. Urgency culture all day long. But the key is to slow down and trust yourself. And like, I couldn't find my key. And I said, no, what are you doing? You running around. I said, go lay down. You have space to do that. Go lay down. But right before I lay down, I was like, look, I need my key. Let the answer come to me. And I put the intent that the answer come to me. I woke up and knew exactly where to go find my key. Because my body is always working for my good. Everything is working in the time. We fight our body as if our body is working against us and we're on the same team. So you have to remember that and really be mindful on what you, like we said, what you say to your body, but also trusting your brain power, trusting your spiritual power, trusting your connection to your higher power, whatever that is, right? And you have to really trust that all things are going to work out as they should. You do not in this moment, because she said time, the only real version of time is now. You do not in this moment have to know why. You just have to know what it's going to look like when it works out. You just have to know that it's going to work out somehow, and the version of the how is going to come to you as it should. And that's okay. And it may be uncomfortable right now, but if it's uncomfortable, that's okay, right? Because there's, again, if we're really connected to the world and everything flows, just like here, I'm from Oklahoma. Oklahoma, it was sunny as hell in DC. Oklahoma had tornadoes like crazy last week, right? It's just 80 miles an hour, all this stuff, because everything flows in its own season, in its own space. And you could be in a space where you just may be in the storm, and that's okay. You ride the storm, ride it out, and trust that everything that you need is going to come to you. And it's like what she's talking about with the conference that I want to go to. I was like, girl, I just need something. I need a little oomph. She was like my spark. It was like she was like my jumper cables. I know I want to do this. I said, I just need somebody to just keep me on track. She said, girl, just do what you got to do, right? So I go get the tickets, and I trust that whatever I need is going to get fulfilled because I need to be there. What's most important is I need to be there. All the other things are figure outable. Okay. So always remember that when you are experiencing change, when you are experiencing storms, you are experiencing, trust yourself, trust the connection that you have to your higher power, trust your power.
And every storm is not meant to wipe you out. Remember that. Some storms that's meant to clear out some stuff so you can actually see.
Listen.
As you think about allergy season right now, my son was like, all flared up. Like, I was like, Lord, okay, now I got to be a nurse. So, but the thing is, when you think about it, you got all the pollen, all the stuff, and then there's this nice rain that just gives a little washout, and you're like, ooh, just for that moment, So every storm that comes is not a storm to wipe out. It's sometimes to bring clarity. It's sometimes to rejuvenate where it do need to be rejuvenated. So
like when the old people on the porch, and then it's like a hot summer day, and then
did you say old people? Like, because I fit.
Not fake old people, real old people. Real old people. You want to be old so bad. You're pseudo geriatrics.
I am.
Real old people. Well, you probably do this because you basically are old in your mind. But in a summer day where it's super hot and it's too hot and it's gross, and then that rain comes and it's always the old person on the porch say, "We needed this."
That's me all day.
Of course
All
it's you.
day.
You're so old, man.
I told Landon too. I was like, "Oh, it's gonna rain tomorrow anyway, so this is gonna be good for you. You'll be able to."
Oh my God. You're too young to be so old, man. But I'm here for it. It means you got old soul. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go into we're gonna hurry up because we are talking, child. It's almost 30 minutes.
I know.
But talking about environment, we kind of already touched on environment. We can touch on it really quick.
We did.
Real quick, and just basically just say that if you are trying to shine, right? If you're trying to amplify your light, you can get people that are going to be around you, but they need to be just as committed to amplifying your light as you are. They need to be just as committed to pouring into you as you are. May you attract relationships that reflect the level of love you have for yourself always.
Amen.
Always. And that's all I got to say about that one.
Yes, amen. Just know that you never start from scratch. You're always going to start from experience, right? Mm-hmm. So you take that experience you have, you take what you like, cultivate it, integrate it into this renewed you. Mm-hmm. Be honest with yourself all the time, even in the rawness of it, because that's going to be really the starting point, your true starting point, the true raw honesty. And then I'm always going to be an advocate. You got to do your shadow work, okay?
Those as you should. Pop your shit.
It's so essential because your pain is your power. And so unless you are embracing it, then it's never going to be able to amplify the light that you have within you because you're shedding or you're hiding something that is a part of the gift. So those are my 3 points for what you need to do to amplify your light. We covered so much of it, so it's all kind of intertwined.
Yeah, we kind of already talked about it. We talked about discernment. We talked about, the attracting, all the things. But yeah, again, and also, but I just wanted to touch on too with the occupation, right? I know that we sometimes feel like, we have to do what we have to do. But as we are 2 people who are now living in the occupations that we have, had to grow into, in a sense. I'm not saying you got to do it, but I'm just saying if you can do it, because it's like the icing on the cake when you can, what they call ikigai, where it's like you're doing something that matters to you and that you contributed something directly to the world. If you have the opportunity, because I understand life be life and we do, inflation is a thing, but do it.
Find your fulfillment, right?
Yeah, find your fulfillment.
It doesn't have to be on a grandiose scale, and it doesn't have to be something drastic. It could be volunteering on one day. It could just be buying someone lunch for a particular, whatever it is for you. It just, if it fulfills you, do it. Sometimes bettering yourself is the fulfillment. Going to a conference that you know is going to help you help the world. That's the fulfillment. Do it. It doesn't have to be, you make it what you want it to be. As long as your heart is happy while you're doing it, then you're on the right path. That's how I would measure it and govern that.
And then I just want to say, like, if you feel, and you always have more resources than you think. Don't ever feel like you're stuck in anything, right? If you have something that you want to try, want to do, occupational wise, hobby wise, just do the thing. All right. So lastly, we kind of talked about this too, and talking about, the shadow self and things like that, embracing all parts of yourself. All of you is good. Like she said, that the shadow is going to come to you and it's going to say things to maybe stop you, but it's all working for your good. All of it. That's why we make friends with the shadow, because the shadow has the tea on all the things that we need to do to be able to work together for, I don't want to say a better you, I'm not trying to rhyme, but you know what I'm trying to say. But you can speak more on the shadow self part, but yeah, because I have a different take.
For me, if we're gonna, I like love shadow work to talk about. I'm like, that's my thing. But I feel like truly high level, without going down a rabbit hole, because I can easily do that. Doing your shadow work is really just about you having that space to be able to love yourself more. That's what it is. It's just a light. So that's all you're doing is really just shining a light. And I think when I say do the shadow work, it's really just shine those lights on those areas that are preventing you from being in that renewed self. You talked about fear. Having that self-awareness of knowing that you have fear is like, so that's like 90% of the battle. The rest of it is having that narrative of how you talk to yourself when you're going through those moments. So, because you're always going to have them. I have them. It doesn't, it's never going to like just change. It doesn't go away, but you have tools and you know how to speak to it. So for me, you always have to embrace that part of your shadow. That's a part of you that needs more love. It was hidden away, it was dormant, and it wasn't really dormant, it was actively working, it was silently active. And so what you have to do is figure out that narrative of what you want to tell it. How do you talk to it? How much love do you give it? Where do you give it? So doing that is going to be helpful with you moving into diversifying your life portfolio, because you have to acknowledge the areas that are hidden that don't want to go there, so that you can say, okay, no, it's actually great. You don't want to go to the beach, and that's those small steps of how you move is actually what's going to help you to actually facilitate the true movement and then raise your vibration in the process. So that's what I will say about shadow work in my condensed version of it.
I know, because she could go, because she is also, by the way, she is the queen for all things shadow work. Please hit her up if you need some. Look, shameless plug. I'm always I'm like your manager in my hand. Please hit her up. I'm just saying. But
because I say it to her all the time. I'm like, well, what's your shadow? What's going on?
I know, all the time. Like, she's all things shadow. If you want to discover that part of you, please hit her up and she will help guide you on that journey. And as you know, I am the brain nerd, so I'm going to give my take. All right. So my take is basically the same thing, but how it works with the brain. The internal family systems is what it's called, right? So you have 3 categories of versions of yourself that exist inside of your body, right? These are just categories. There's like people under those people, like we're multidimensional beings. There's a lot of us in us, right? And so basically put it like this: every major experience in your life, there's a version of you that experienced it, right? And that version of you still lives in you. Maybe not, physically, basically, but in your mind, that basically lives there. As far as your self-talk, the things that you say to yourself, things like that. So you have 3 categories. You have the manager, the firefighters, and then you have the exiles, right? So the exiles, your inner child, right? Those are the anything really childhood related. Everybody is working to protect this inner child, right? Anybody. We're trying to protect the inner child because then, it's the inner child, right? They also have the manager. The manager is like the inner critic in you, right? It's the person that is the one that's going to critique you and tell you, like, why are you trying to do this? That's the analyzer, the overthinker, the person that wants to dissect everything and micromanage your life. That's your manager, okay? Then you also have your firefighter. Your firefighter is your impulsive side. That's the person that does the binge eating, the person that does the stress eating, the person that may be addicted, inside your body, that may be addicted to, whatever vice you may have. It could be alcohol, it could be addicted to being a victim. It could be addicted to identifying as somebody that is a lost cause. It could be a number of things, but the purpose of the firefighters, that's the person that jumps in and puts out the fire. When you are going into something that's uncomfortable, it's like, oh, whoa, let's clear this out, right? So you have these people, you have to remember that these people are basically conversing in your brain at all times, all right? So when you have that voice, when you hear what we call an intrusive thought, a lot of times that's just one of the parts of yourself that is speaking to you. In the sense where it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to do something, and you have the manager. Let's say for me, let's use my journey as an example of as a cognitive behavior coach. It took forever for me to even say that out loud, right? Because I had people in my head, the manager in my head is saying, but what do you know about that? Like you don't, but other people have this and they have that. Do you have that? Wait, let's pull out a checklist and see what you have and don't have, right? Then you have the inner child is like, but I was told that all I could ever be was nobody, right? And then I have the firefighter saying, fuck all this, let's go eat, right? So I have these voices in my head all the time. So what I had to learn to do is identify those voices and understand and differentiate them and categorize them and understand that all of these people are trying to protect me in their own way. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these people are protecting a version of me that does not exist anymore. right? So inner child thinks I'm still 10, right? Firefighter still thinks I'm that person because you have the trauma. You have what I call the big T trauma and the little T trauma, right? And we have the big things that happen in our lives and the little things that happen in our lives. But all the way the brain processes, they don't give a damn what it is. Trauma's trauma, right? So don't think that if you are in a situation where I haven't had nothing major happen to me, I don't have trauma, you probably do. Right? Sitting in a room too long where you're uncomfortable and you start to feel anytime you feel that fight or flight response, that could be a traumatic moment, right? So keeping that in mind, you may have an instance where you could be in a situation where you were in a talent show and you got booed off stage, and that's a traumatic moment for you, right? So let's say you're going into life and you are trying to do something such as get on stage, and you have the manager is like, are you sure you want to do this? Because remember what happened the last time? And because you got all these things in your head, right? So what you have to do is learn the roles that those voices play. So if you're overthinking, that's just your body, that side of you that is trying to tell you that you need to think this through, right? But there's ways to get over that. You just basically use productive stress. When you use productive stress, you use that stress mechanism in your body as productive. So instead of having that manager overanalyze, you can transmute that into, okay, well, use this. I'm stressed. That's cool. Okay, manager, I got this. But let me use this for risk assessment instead of stress. If you have the firefighter saying, fuck this, wrap it up, let's go binge eat, say, okay, I know that's what you want to do, but let's find a healthy alternative. So basically just listening to yourself, listening to those sides of yourself and letting those sides know, hey, that's where the presentness comes in too. Because you can say, hey, inner child, I am not 10 anymore. And so what I've learned to do is I remind myself periodically throughout the day, my name is Nana Carr. I am 38 years old. Today is blah, 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 blah. I promise you, it sounds crazy, but those thoughts have subsided because I'm telling myself you are no longer there. Because guess what? If you are in a situation where you are doing fight or flight and you chose to freeze, you could stay perpetually frozen for the rest of your life if you don't snap yourself out of it. And you could be a functional freeze. That's what I realized I was in, a functional freeze where you're frozen in time. So it helps to always stay present and listen to those voices that pop up in your head and identify them in the roles they're trying to play and say, hey, okay, if this is telling me I need to overthink, then maybe I need to think more productively. If the thought is telling me to say, fuck this, that means I'm scared of something. What am I afraid of, right? So basically what I'm saying is use your thoughts and understand that they're all working for your good. All parts of you are good, even though from the surface, we can use those parts and say, well, why are you trying to mess up what I got going? They're not trying to mess up what you got going. They are trying to protect you from what happened. And that's okay. But you have to just guide that. And that's why I love spirituality now, because it goes hand in hand with it. Everything Jazzy just said with the shadow stuff, instead of resisting and God, let's guide together. And instead of having those as interrupters, transmute them into advisors. Since you remember so much, tell me some better ways I can do this, So I say that to say, just be mindful of your thoughts. Think of your thoughts. Get a diary if you're somebody that deals with a lot of negative thoughts. Write down those thoughts. Think and get present with the things that your brain is telling you, because you are probably stopping yourself from so much because you don't realize the thoughts, and you will be disgusted with some of the stuff that goes through your mind. Like, I thought that about me. Like, it took my therapist telling me, you said you were a lost cause 5 times in this conversation. And do you know I didn't realize I said it once? Right. And so I understand that now that was just me, the other versions of me trying to protect me, and they're working for my good, and that's okay. But let me reassure you, manager or whatever side, that I am okay, that I have these resources now. I am now 38 years old. I'm doing this, and everything's okay. So reassure yourself, understand that your intrusive thoughts are interrupters, but you can turn them into your advisors by being mindful of them. And basically, you cannot, and it's the way the brain works, you cannot take anything away. You have to replace it. So where there's negative thoughts, replace that with the affirmation. That's how you get there in your daily habits. Find the negative thought, transmute it, and practice the new thought until it becomes a norm for you. And the same thing with the voices. Transmute those things and say, okay, I hear you, but how about we do it this way until it becomes a norm, and embrace all of you. And all of a sudden, everything will start working together. But yeah, that's what's
okay. That's right. You better do. I concur.
But yes, that is all we have. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
But some things we want you to think about in your mind shift moment
Yes.
is, how are you going to embrace the renewed you? What is the first thing you are going to do after hearing everything that we said to do? If you can think of that now, we would love to hear it in the comments. But outside of that, that's all from us.
Yes, that's all we have. Thank y'all for watching and for contributing and talking with us. I love it. I get so excited, y'all know.
I know. I've been trying so hard not to.
I get so excited.
Because I could talk about this 5 hours if given the opportunity, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
So, but all right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we are signing out. Thank you for, like she said, contributing, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.